August 1982. Along the banks of Washington's Green River, investigators made a discovery that would become the beginning of one of America's most infamous serial murder investigations. At first, investigators believed it was an isolated case, but within weeks, another victim was found, and then another.
As more young women disappeared across King County, detectives realized they were facing something far more dangerous than anyone had imagined. When investigators connected the cases, a disturbing pattern began to emerge. They feared a serial killer was hunting in the shadows. The media soon gave the unknown suspect a chilling name, the Green River Killer, but his true identity remained a mystery.
As the number of missing women continued to rise, detectives realized they were no longer investigating separate disappearances. They were hunting a serial killer. Every new report revealed another piece of the puzzle. The victims had vanished from similar areas across King County. The King County Sheriff's Office formed a special task force. It quickly became one of the largest serial murder investigations in American history. Hundreds of tips poured in from across the state. Every phone call offered hope, but none brought investigators closer to the killer. The most disturbing possibility was that the killer looked completely ordinary. Someone hiding in plain sight. By 1983, the investigation had expanded dramatically. Detectives were reviewing thousands of leads, determined to identify the person responsible. Investigators interviewed countless witnesses, searching for even the smallest detail that could connect the victims to a single suspect. The task force began identifying patterns in the victims' last known movements. Certain locations appeared again and again. Among the many names reviewed by investigators was Gary Ridgway. He was interviewed during the investigation, but at that time, there was not enough evidence to charge him. After the interview, Ridgway was released. The investigation continued, and detectives had no idea it would take years and advances in DNA technology to finally solve the case. Months turned into years. Despite thousands of interviews and countless hours of investigation, the killer remained unidentified. Public fear continued to grow. Every new disappearance raised the same terrifying question: who would be next? Investigators collected and preserved every possible piece of evidence, hoping that future technology might reveal what they couldn't see. Years later, forensic science advanced dramatically. DNA testing offered investigators a chance to re-examine evidence that had remained silent for decades. The breakthrough investigators had waited for was finally within reach. One DNA match would change the entire investigation forever. In 2001, investigators re-examined key evidence using advanced DNA testing. The results pointed to one man they had questioned years earlier. The DNA profile matched Gary Ridgway. After nearly 2 decades, investigators finally had the evidence they needed. On November 30th, 2001, Gary Ridgway was arrested and charged in connection with multiple murders, marking a major breakthrough in the Green River investigation.
For the families of the victims, the arrest brought long-awaited answers, but many questions still remained.
The investigation was far from over. During questioning, Ridgway would reveal details that shocked even the most experienced detectives. After his arrest, detectives began a series of lengthy interviews. Every answer was carefully compared with years of evidence already collected. Investigators cross-checked every statement against forensic reports, witness interviews, and crime scene evidence collected over nearly 20 years. The investigation expanded once again, as detectives followed new information to search additional locations connected to the case. To avoid multiple death penalty trials, prosecutors negotiated a plea agreement. In exchange, Ridgway agreed to provide information that could help investigators recover additional victims. The agreement marked a turning point. Families finally began receiving answers after years of uncertainty, while investigators continued working to uncover the full truth. The plea agreement did not end the investigation. Instead, it opened a new chapter, as detectives worked to verify every statement with physical evidence. Investigators revisited locations that had been searched years earlier, hoping modern forensic methods would reveal new answers. Every discovery was carefully documented. Detectives knew that every confirmed Detail mattered, not only for the investigation, but also for the victims' families. Years of unanswered questions slowly began to receive verified answers through patient investigation and advances in forensic science. Even after the arrest, investigators continued working to understand the full scope of one of the longest and most complex serial murder investigations in American history.
In 2003, Gary Ridgway appeared in court. After years of investigation, the case had finally reached one of its most important moments.
Inside the courtroom, families listened as prosecutors presented years of evidence collected by investigators. To avoid the death penalty, Ridgway accepted a plea agreement and pleaded guilty to multiple murders. In return, he agreed to help investigators recover additional victims. The court sentenced Ridgway to life, imprisonment without the possibility of parole. For many families, it marked the end of a long search for justice. Although the conviction closed a major chapter, investigators continued searching for answers, determined to identify as many victims as possible. The Green River investigation transformed homicide investigations across the United States. Detectives realized that preserving evidence could solve cases decades later. Advances in DNA technology gave investigators a second chance. Evidence once considered impossible to analyze became the key to solving cold cases. For the families, no investigation could erase the loss, but every confirmed answer brought a measure of truth after years of uncertainty. The Green River Killer case remains one of the most significant criminal investigations in American history, a reminder of the importance of persistence, science, and justice.
Even after the conviction, investigators continued reviewing unsolved cases, determined to identify every possible victim connected to the Green River investigation. Modern forensic techniques gave investigators new opportunities to examine evidence that had remained untouched for years. The case became a reminder that even decades later, science can help investigators uncover the truth. Law enforcement agencies across the country studied the investigation, applying its lessons to future serial crime and cold case investigations. The Green River case stands as one of the largest and longest serial murder investigations in American history, a case that changed forensic investigations forever. By the early 2000s, investigators had spent nearly 2 decades pursuing the truth. Every verified discovery was carefully added to one of the largest homicide case files in U.S. history. Forensic specialists continued examining preserved evidence, proving that even decades-old cases could reveal new answers through modern science. The Green River investigation became a model for future cold case investigations, demonstrating the value of patience, documentation, and forensic innovation. Behind every case file was a real person, a real family, and years of unanswered questions. That reality remained at the heart of the investigation. The Green River case continues to remind investigators around the world that justice can take years, but every verified fact brings us closer to the truth. Investigators didn't simply accept every confession. Every claim had to be verified against physical evidence, witness statements, and forensic records. Every recovered clue was carefully photographed, cataloged, and documented before becoming part of the official investigation. Detectives revisited old witness interviews, searching for details that had seemed insignificant years earlier, but now carried new meaning. Modern forensic science helped investigators connect evidence, collected years apart, strengthening the case piece by piece. After nearly 20 years, investigators had assembled one of the most thoroughly documented serial murder cases in American history. Inside the courtroom, prosecutors presented years of forensic evidence. Every document, every laboratory report, and every witness statement had been carefully organized. The investigation had stretched across 2 decades. Detectives who began the case watched years of work finally presented in court. For many families, this was more than a legal proceeding. It was the first time they believed the long search for answers was finally coming to an end. The evidence presented in court reflected decades of investigative work, combining witness testimony with advances in forensic science. But even after the courtroom proceedings, investigators knew one question would remain. Could every victim ever be identified? In December 2003, the court sentenced Gary Ridgway to life in prison without the possibility of parole. one of America's longest serial murder. Investigations had reached its legal conclusion. Outside the courthouse, investigators faced the cameras. The case had been solved, but the emotional weight of 2 decades remained. For the detectives, this investigation became more than a career. It became a promise that every victim deserved to be remembered. The Green River case changed homicide investigations forever, proving that evidence preserved today may solve a crime decades later. But one question still remained. How could one man avoid capture for so many years? When the investigation first began in 1982, DNA testing wasn't available in the way it is today. Detectives had to rely on witness accounts, physical evidence, and relentless police work. Thousands of leads were investigated. Most led nowhere, but detectives refused to close the case. Years passed, but the evidence was never forgotten. Every file was preserved with the hope that future science might reveal the truth. That decision changed everything. Advances in forensic DNA analysis gave investigators a second chance to solve the case. The Green River. Investigation became proof that justice may be delayed, but it doesn't have to disappear. For many detectives, this investigation became more than a case file. It became a mission that followed them throughout their careers. Some investigators retired before the case was solved. Others stayed involved, believing that one day the evidence would finally reveal the truth. When DNA technology finally confirmed the suspect, it wasn't luck. It was the result of decades of careful evidence preservation. The Green River investigation proved that even when time passes, the truth can still be uncovered through patience, science, and determination. Nearly 20 years after the investigation began, one of America's most difficult serial murder cases had finally been solved, but its impact would last for generations. The Green River investigation officially reached its conclusion, but for many families, the memories would never fade. Investigators often said the case was never just about catching a killer. It was about giving victims their names and their families' long-awaited answers. The investigation demonstrated how patience, teamwork, and scientific advances can solve even the most complex criminal cases. Today, the Green River case is studied by investigators and forensic experts as one of the most significant criminal investigations in American history. It remains a powerful reminder that every piece of evidence matters, and that the search for truth should never stop. More than 20 years of investigation had finally brought answers, but no verdict could erase the pain left behind. The Green River investigation changed the way detectives approached serial crime cases, proving that patience and evidence can outlast time itself. For future investigators, this case became a lesson in persistence. Every unanswered question deserved another search for the truth. Even decades later, the Green River case remains one of the most extensively investigated serial murder cases in American history. Behind every case file was a human story, one that deserves to be remembered with truth, respect, and compassion. The final 10 scenes, remembering the victims, honoring the investigators, and the lasting legacy of the case. The Green River case was never just about solving crimes. It was about restoring names, answers, and dignity to those who had been forgotten. Behind every investigation is a promise that no victim should ever be forgotten, no matter how much time has passed. This investigation proved that truth doesn't disappear with time. Sometimes it simply waits to be discovered. Today, the Green River investigation remains one of the most significant examples of persistence in American criminal justice history. For investigators, the case ended with a conviction. For history, it became a lesson that determination and science can work together to uncover the truth. More than 20 years passed before science helped solve what determination alone could not. It was a reminder that evidence never truly loses its voice. The Green River investigation changed homicide investigations across America, influencing how evidence is preserved and cold cases are reopened. The Green River killer case remains one of the most important criminal investigations in American history, not because of the killer, but because of the investigators who never gave up. This documentary is dedicated to the victims, their families, and the investigators who spent decades searching for the truth. Thank you for watching Crime Ledger.